Greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, the most ratings killer of all ratings killers. In this little corner of the YouTube universe, you will find the smallest number of viewers, but they are probably the most hardcore. Yeah, this just isn't very, very happy news, and it's not, there isn't a lot of conspiracy to it. It's just, very simple. Humans are big, huge fuck ups, and we're destroying our habitat, and that's what we're doing, and we're heading straight down the old poop chute. Real quick. It is 45 degrees currently in Los Angeles, but I am quite warm because I just went running with my dog. I am not usually a runner. In fact, I've never run in my adult life as a hobby. I probably tried a couple of times. Maybe I lasted 1 or 2 days, and then that quickly ended. But my dog is so strong; she does not walk, she runs. And if you are, she's strong enough to pull a grown man, a 6'2" grown man, down the street, barely able to hold on to her. She's incredibly strong. I don't know where she got this super canine strength, but so because of that, what I've been doing is basically running with my dog every night for like 2 or 3 weeks. So now I guess I'm officially one of those people that runs. Anyways, I'm well insulated against the cold at the moment. I'm gonna keep it relatively short tonight, because I think what I'm going to start doing is I'd like to start doing these videos in the morning. I generally do them at the end of the day, at night, and I think it's a little bit of a weird upload time, but although it doesn't really matter. I have the viewers are from all over the globe, but I think what I'd like to do is start trying to do these videos in the morning and kind of knock them out so that I don't have, so when I get home from work or I get home from doing whatever I'm doing, I kind of have this looming need to do a video. And sometimes that can get in the way of doing other things. So what I'd like to do is do them in the morning. And so I'm going to try and start doing that tomorrow. So I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to come back with another video, relatively early tomorrow morning. I am a musician, by the way. So, early to me is like 8 or 9, when early to other people is like 5 or 6. 5 or 6 to me is god awful. That's just stupid early. I wanted to start with a couple of comments. Had some really excellent comments on the last video. So I wanted to read these. The first is from, I have really excellent comments all the time. I just don't always have the space or the time to read them all, or the time to catch them all. It's really about catching them and, putting them somewhere where I can read them later. Sometimes I do that and then I totally forget that I put them somewhere. Excuse my sloppiness. This is from Earth Anarchist. She says, I disagree about all consumers in our society being narcissists, addicts. Yes, our societal structure is actually very traumatizing, not nurturing. We are being held captive by our abusers and have something similar to Stockholm Syndrome. I see a lot of pain out there, even with people who seem to be doing well financially. That's why psychiatric drugs, such as SSRIs, benzodiazepines, and sleeping pills are becoming ever more popular. We need to stay drugged so we will be compliant and fit into our fucked up society. TV and shopping are also drugs. We've talked about this before. We are mostly a traumatized, self-medicating culture, not a narcissistic one. It's hard to feel compassion for people who are fucking up our planet, but we all do it too. Our disconnection to nature also causes us a lot of pain and makes us not care about the earth. We think there is still a lot of nature left. Most people don't think about ecosystems collapsing because they don't see ecosystems at all. Very true. I know lots and lots of people that go from their air-conditioned house into their air-conditioned car to their air-conditioned job and go out to eat at an air-conditioned restaurant and then turn around and, you know, if you put them outdoors for about 5 minutes, they're like, what is happening? Example, most people don't think about bird numbers declining, but birders, however, do, and they are concerned about it. That may prompt them to take action or at least care a little bit. Most birders create little habitats in their backyards to draw birds. They are more likely to have native plants and let their gardens naturalize. I know this because I am a professional gardener. More and more of our customers want to naturalize their property. It's probably too little too late, but should still be noted. Just my opinion. I rather like that comment, and she's right on. Yes, you know, there's lots of things that we do as a society or as individuals to cope with the structure of our society, and definitely even high achievers have really large problems, can have very large problems, drug problems, depression. There are quite a few instances where very famous or very, you know, high achieving people commit suicide because or overdose because, well, you know, none of that is feeding or filling the hole inside, and we're taught to fill that hole with all kinds of things, lots of shopping, lots of social media, lots of clothes and shoes, and movies and TV shows, et cetera, et cetera. Next comment, really great comment from Zombie Vampires. Oh my God, this rant is so long, and it is very long. I'm going to read the whole thing though. Let me get this straight. The IPCC states that we need to start changing our entire enormous worldwide fossilized infrastructure today, or else in 11 years, we will reach 1.5 degrees, which will cause worse weather disasters, food shortages, unrest, and massive migration for the millions in developing countries. And at 2 degrees, it's pretty much completely over for our so-called civilized society. So I guess we're going to continue to do nothing and wait until 2025, when we only have 5 years left to replace every single power plant, combustion engine, aircraft, and cargo ship on the planet. We can't even build one high-speed train in that amount of time. And we're supposed to find an alternative to cement production and somehow stop all of our cows from farting. Get real. In an economic world that took 150 years to develop, a working infrastructure that accommodates 8 billion people, we're supposed to suddenly swap it out in as little as 10 years and at a mind-boggling cost of 10 to 20% of our GDP. Is it even possible, practical, or at the very least thinkable? At the same time, we will continue paying the annual $500 billion in rising disaster relief and adaptation costs and continue burying the thousands of poor souls who die each year. We've got no technology that will scrub CO2 and methane. We've got no technology that will store mass amounts of energy. We've got no diesel and jet fuel alternatives. We've got no plans, and we've got no will. Is there anybody out there who can find any info on renewable grid projects currently in the works? Any drafts available, ones that are needed on a massive scale and that should have started back decades ago? I personally don't see any solar panels on 99% of our homes. I don't see any vehicles plugged in for the 99% of our fleet. The electrical hookups at grocery stores and parking lots do not exist. I don't see any new fuel technologies for our 40K aircraft and 50K cargo ships. It's all pie in the sky, wishful thinking, hopium or hopopium is how he spelled it. I don't know if he meant to do that. Au contraire, zombie. I will say that I do see electric cars. I see the hookups, not at grocery stores, but I do see them. Actually, I see them at Whole Foods. They have them at Whole Foods. They have them. I live in LA, probably one of the more progressive places. So there are electrical outlets and hookups all over the place. There's some in downtown, but the homeless people just immediately destroy them. So not a good idea to put them there, like out on the street. And I see, there's a car down the street that's plugged in every night. I see them plugged in. They do exist. I actually do see. So there's solar panels on my street. There's a couple houses. My brother has solar panels on his house. He lives in the Washington, D.C. area. One place that I see a ton of solar panels is in Sacramento, California. I used to do a lot of gigging up there, and every time I would drive up, I would be on the freeway on the 5, and driving up and getting close to Sacramento, I would notice every single house along the freeway had a solar panel. So there are places where there are massive solar panel building. I don't know why it's so sparse in LA, but it is here. It seems to be more, obviously, in other places, more prevalent. I look at current policies in the US, the EU, China, and India, and none of these countries are even coming close. It's pathetic and it's a joke. I look online for some kind of new technology or projects, but I can't find a thing. Not a fucking thing. I see lectures and town meetings all over the world on how to adapt, but nothing on mitigation. With the amount of materials involved in constructing these turbines and solar cells and batteries, we should have been mining and stockpiling these metals 3 fucking decades ago. At this excruciatingly slow pace of change, we will all undoubtedly be killing each other over food and water in the very near future. It's like the doctor tells you that that you have pancreatic cancer and you could live as long as Steve Jobs did, but only if you exhausted all types of exotic and alternative treatments. He would have quickly died in 6 months otherwise. I think that sums up the situation we are in. I truly believe that nothing is ever going to happen until a large number of people start to perish. And so I wonder what the magical, mystical number will be. In Europe, there was over 35,000 people who cooked to death in 2003, but that didn't seem to make a dent in policy. I predict that 1 or 2 worldwide food crop failures will become the domino effect that causes millions of deaths by starvation and war. And I believe that's the magical number, 1 million. But unfortunately, when that time comes, the social fabric of our own privileged society may start to unravel. People will quickly realize what's going on around the world and start to take action, but in the wrong direction. Separatism and racism could born itself more radically than we've ever seen. Crime rates will probably increase dramatically. It won't be a pretty sight. The most outrageous thing of all is that every single politician, military expert, and economist on the planet knows just when, where, and how these events will occur. We were warned in our 2008 recession that the next one will be bigger and more devastating. Our current historical 10-year economic growth that went to 1% is the real Chinese hoax. Went to the 1%. We have somehow dodged the slowdown cycle of this expansion. And the next recession, the one that is forecast to arrive in a few months, will hit us harder than anything we've ever experienced, and it will be felt globally. There is no more money left to borrow when our debt surpasses our annual GDP, and the costs to prevent social outbreak could completely double our defense spending. The only course of action we need to take from this moment on is to just prepare for the devastation with the slight chance of a miracle. Sometimes I look at the Great Pyramids and ask myself, how the hell did they do that? I look at other ancient monoliths and their stones weighing 1,000 tons each, and I know for a fact that they weren't chiseled with bronze tools and dragged tens of miles away from the quarries with ropes and mules. There was a definite use of high modern technology to construct most of it, but weirdly, it was all constructed during a period when these same people lived in mud huts and wove baskets. Something strange and phenomenal happened to the human race 10,000 years ago, and there could be a slight chance that it could happen again. But we need to put away our little distractions and denials and get on with our homework. We need to expand science and engineering education and concentrate on the farthest fetched technological ideas our brains can ever think of. The first plan of action would be to redistribute all the wealth. Then we take our huge pot of gold and adopt a plan. Deploy hundreds of global committees that will do the work of taking statistics and breaking them down so they can present the planet with everything in its entirety. Every detail, from needed societal and consumption changes to massive scale energy projects and production, all of them with costs and timelines down to the penny in the minute. Then we will gather all the quotes from tech, manufacturing, and construction companies. We make the required down payment. We inform the public of their duties and responsibilities, and then we get this enormous ball rolling. But will it work? And if it doesn't, should we still try? There seems to be a personal moral decision that everybody on this planet needs to make, like yesterday. Excellent comment by Zombie Vampires, and quite a few people seem to think likewise. There were, I don't know how many comments underneath that reply. I don't know how many replies there were to that comment, but a ton. Yeah, I mean, we need all hands on deck, to put it succinctly. And we do need to stop the rich from doing what they're doing. We need to, for lack of a better word, confiscate the wealth, and redistribute it. And that's exactly what a lot of Americans agree that we should do. Go figure. There seems to be quite a bit of momentum behind the idea that we should have a very large tax on the wealthy. Like, AOC is proposing a 70% wealth tax. A few other people are proposing the same thing. Quite a few presidential candidates are on board. And, it's funny because Trump the other night said, we'll never become socialists. And AOC the next day was like, he's scared. And he is. And let me tell you, the elite, the entire power structure is shaking in their boots because a majority of Americans agree with this, Republican and Democrat. A majority of Americans are like, yep, enough already. One of the reasons why last election centered around populism, both on the left and the right, is because people understand that the rich are the ones that are controlling everything, and they need to be hacked, down at the knees. They need to have their wealth taxed and redistribute the wealth to the poor, and also to programs that can help in the evolution of our society to something much more evolved and much more centered around equality. The wealth inequality needs to go. Social programs need to be implemented. Climate change needs to be fought in a World War II capacity style, like yesterday. And I was listening, just overheard some Sean Hannity earlier. I don't really watch Fox News, but I overhear it once in a while. And he was just raking AOC over the coals and all of the Democrats. And they're coming out full force with the whole communism, socialism. Oh my God, the world's about to end because these people are lunatics and they want socialism. And he was saying, he was talking about AOC's he was talking about the Green New Deal. And he's like, these people, what are we going to do? No more airplanes and no more cars. And, they're just, they can't even, it doesn't even compute. They're just like, but they are literally, they don't even know how to deal with this information. On top of all of that, I heard, over a few times, they say that, we only have 12 years before climate change overtakes us. And that's just not true. Oh my God. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, so, in light of that, here's an article from the National Review, and this is from today. AOC, Green New Deal, promises economic security for those unable or unwilling to work. Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ed Markey introduced a Green New Deal bill Thursday that, in addition to transitioning the U.S. entirely to renewable energy in 10 years, promises to provide economic security for those unable or unwilling to work. Since arriving in Washington in January, Ocasio-Cortez has prioritized the implementation of a Green New Deal and, in her frequent media appearances, has emphasized its potential as a means to pursue economic justice while drastically reducing carbon emissions over the next decade. In drafting the proposal, Ocasio-Cortez and her fellow progressive lawmakers appear to have envisioned that the trillions of dollars in new government spending it would require would be financed entirely on credit. Whatever. National Review is like kind of a right-leaning publication, is it not? I think it is. Pretty sure, because I think they're trying to poo-poo this whole thing, but whatever. How will you pay for it? Reads a frequently asked questions document that accompanied the bill. The Federal Reserve can extend credit to power these projects and investments, and new public banks can be created to extend credit. There is also space for the government to take an equity stake in projects to get a return on investment, just like they did with the banks. Remember that? That's exactly what the government did. That's exactly what the Federal Reserve did. They did just that. So how will you pay for it is a stupid, nonsensical question. The same way we pay for the military. We make it up. We make it up. Trump said it himself. When he was campaigning, he was like, we just print money. He was talking about funding something, and he was like, we just print money. He opened his mouth and let out the big fat secret of money, which is we just make it. Doesn't matter if it's backed by anything or it's not worth anything. It's just numbers. We just make it up. That's how you pay for it. This is exactly how you pay for it, with the exception of the brief mention of the carbon tax, which the FAQ document claims misses the point. There is no mention of any additional taxes to cover the cost of spending. We don't need the taxes. We need to actually put our taxes into the right slot, not the military spending. We just keep the same taxes and we put them over here and not over here. That's how you do it. In addition to providing economic security for those unable or unwilling to work, the plan also promises to create millions of good, high-wage jobs for willing Americans. Many of those new federal employees would presumably assist in the 14 major clean energy infrastructure projects the plan calls for. In defending the breadth and scope of the proposal, which also includes 15 social and economic justice and security requirements, Ocasio-Cortez has likened it to the mobilization effort that preceded World War II and conceded that it qualifies as a moonshot idea. It is a moonshot because, and she says that because she's in touch with the reality of climate change. Doesn't mean, it doesn't mean it's not going to work, but it's definitely not going to work if you don't try it. 100% not going to work if we don't do it. If we do it, this much percent chance that it actually pulls us from the precipice. Or is it this much? Or is it this much? Moving on to the last article I'm going to cover tonight. Heatwave turns gateway to Antarctic into beach town. This is from the UPI. February 5th. Unusually warm temperatures in Argentina's Tierra del Fuego province, an area called the gateway to the Antarctic region, led officials to declare Tuesday a holiday and residents to the shores for recreation. The area, which is undergoing summer, reached a temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit in Rio Grande, about 1,400 miles south of Buenos Aires. Some people changed daily habits due to the heat wave in the area this week. Some unusual activities for these latitudes have been seen, like sunbathing and swimming along the coast of the Argentine Sea and the Beagle Canal in Ushuaia, I don't know, Ushuaia, I can't even pronounce that. Sereno reported Tuesday. Wholly unpronounceable word for me, excuse me. Ushuaia, I don't know. Officials in Tierra del Fuego province declared Tuesday a special day off for the government workers because structures are not built for warmer weather. Only skeleton groups worked at the government agencies, Sereno's report said. The highs this week in Tierra del Fuego were well above summer averages, which are around 50 degrees. So 37 degrees above normal Fahrenheit. That's all. Around 50 degrees, La Nacion reported. Swimming in the Beagle Canal is also very unusual, it added. The entire country is seeing higher temperatures this time of the year, which correspond to summer in the southern hemisphere. Tierra del Fuego, which has a population just over 152,000, is an archipelago in the southernmost part of South America, with Argentina occupying its eastern part. It's located about 620 miles from the Antarctic Peninsula through the Drake Passage. The Antarctic is an area claimed by different countries that mostly harbors research ships. Why they added that ridiculously useless sentence at the end of that article, I have no idea. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Who cares? Anyways, whatever. Yeah, so unusually high heat. Unusually high heat. 37-degree temperature anomaly. Unusually high heat. You'd think that maybe the Earth was warming or something. That's all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.